Morning, creator. Today is Sunday the 24th, and right now it is 10:59, about to be 11. We just got home not that long ago. We want to share something with you guys. About 2 Saturdays ago, I was working at LA Fitness. I worked there for about 8 months, and they ended up letting me go. And for a while, it was kind of a bummer, It sucked. I mean, no one really wants to be let go of their job, especially when they enjoy what they're doing. But even though there were a lot of things that LA Fitness was doing that even a lot of the trainers that were working there didn't exactly agree with, I'll leave all that aside. Just with LA Fitness, and whoever goes to works there, they'll know. I don't really want to get into the basic details of it because that's not something that I want to talk about on here. But aside from all that, they ended up letting me go, and a lot of my clients were they wanted me. They don't want to train with another trainer. And that is one thing that I also want to share with you guys as trainers, that when you have your clients, you want to build deep foundational relationships with them. You want to get to know them. You want them to get to know you. You want to know more about them. You want to do all this to build that nice deep foundation. Remember, it's about how it's about the quality of service you provide your clients, and it's not about the quantity of clients that you service. Okay, and that's one thing I feel that company had gotten wrong, because they're too busy about servicing more and more and more and more and more without any recollection to the quality of the service that you need to provide your clients. Okay, and they only give us a half hour to train our clients, not even a half hour, 25 minutes. We give our clients the extra 5 minutes, especially because of how much they're paying towards LA Fitness just for some training. It's an arm and a leg that they're paying just to get their health back, to learn more about being healthy and all this and that. And aside from all that, I don't want to get too deep into that. And all my clients, they wanted to stay with me. That was all. This happened 2 weeks ago, and today I actually just got back home from training one, and we decided that hey, let's be our own boss. Like do it independent from a gym. That was essentially what our goal was from the beginning. We were becoming trainers. We had a mod when I was going to school, there was a business mod, and I was the only one who did mine on independent contracting because that was most interesting to me. And now it's at that point where my clients are asking me to train them, like asking me to be an independent contractor so I could keep training them. And it's amazing. And one thing I also want to share is that if you guys haven't found something yet that's just you love doing, you enjoy doing, you don't mind doing, you wouldn't mind, like doing it for free. That's how much you gotta love something. You're willing to do it for free, because you want to do it. And when you find that thing that you want to do for people, whether they're paying you to do it or not, that's how you know you found what was right for you. And that's how you know that you have found something that, resonates with you and who you are and your personality, your character, who you've been growing into. And yeah, basically the whole get-go of all this was that these last 2 weeks have, when you think that one thing's ended, something else opens up or something even better. And when I recall, every opportunity that I've had, every opportunity that I've lost, that I thought I lost, the one that I ended up getting after ended up being that much better. And I know the same thing is happening right now. That was closed on me because another door has opened for me, because there's more for me to do. And likewise with you, if you have recently gone through something that you lost your job, or maybe your car broke down, or maybe a relationship issue. These things happen, and just know that I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason, even at that time where even during the time of it happening, it's hard to see and to believe that. But as time passes and as you keep moving along, the dots start to connect themselves, and you're able to see, like, hey, now I know why this thing had to happen, because now that I'm here, this wouldn't have happened. If this didn't happen, I wouldn't be here right now. Okay, so all this needed to happen to help you move in the direction that you're supposed to move into. And with that being said, I just thought I'd share that really quick, because there's no better feeling than knowing that you're still doing what you love, and that people don't want anybody else but you, and I just thought I'd share that, because it's been 2 weeks since I made this last video as well, over part 17, because today we're going over the Master Key System, part 18, and last chapter 17, what we learned, this is something I wrote during my personal mastermind. It says, we are the lights of the world, you and me, and together we can make a difference. But part 17 of what we went over, mind being the creative principle behind all things, that even all forms and situations happening in forms have their origin in thought. Like the form somebody is taking is simply the expression of the thoughts they have within them. The spiritual activity. The expression of what man gives is simply the expression of the spiritual activity happening within them. Remember, the kingdom of heaven is within you. Okay, and we learned that once we find the kingdom within us, all things are added. Because once we have found the kingdom, we start to find the core of things. Like he talks in this chapter, you may be going after power instead of the cause of power. Like you may be going after the symbols of power instead of power itself. Like money. Like money is material power. The more money you have, the more possessions you'll be able to get materially. Okay? That is why okay, hold on. The money is material power. Okay. Information, when you learn more about your mind, you start developing more of an internal power, because you learn more about yourself. You learn how you work. You learn how things become habits, and how that which you habitually do becomes what you become what you think about, and all these things that you consistently think about, you embody, and you become a part of, and they become a part of you. And remember, that you have to connect emotions to whatever it is that you are thinking in order to give life and vitality to those thoughts. Because anybody could become a trainer, but only people that actually have an emotional connection to being a trainer are the ones that really, those are the difference between your good and your great trainers. Because those great trainers really have a deep and firm passion for it, and they're willing to do it, quote unquote, for free, because they love doing it so much. Okay. What else did we go over last chapter? We went over intuition. We learned more about intuition. That intuition best is received through the silence, because when you're in silence, there's no sound, there's no sorts of vibration at all entering into our consciousness. It's just nothing but still and silence. And when we are in this stillness and this silence within ourselves, and we are able to see things more clearly, things become more pinpointed towards us. We are able to it's like we're blocked out of this entire field of vibration, or during the day there's just nothing but vibrations and information happening around you, and your consciousness is continually picking up on the sounds, the dog that's barking next to you, the birds that are singing in the tree, the people that are across the street playing baseball. You are constantly hearing all of these things, and Remember, as consciousness, your conscious and your subconscious mind. That the subconscious mind is a part of your mind that is impressed and can be put under a great influence of its surroundings. Okay, that is a subconscious mind. That is why they say that when you're a kid and your conscious part of yourself hasn't really developed that much, that is why they're absorbing everything, because their subconscious is open. And then when the conscious part of ourselves starts to develop, that becomes, remember what we learned, the watchman at the gate, that we consciously choose what we allow inside of our subconscious. We consciously are able to choose, whether we want to pay attention to the baseball game, or whether the birds are chirping in the trees, or whether the dog is barking. Yes, all that is still happening there, and all that information and all that sound and vibration and energy is still happening around you. But we have the ability to choose whether we want to let it affect us or not. And if we do let it in and affect us, then our subconscious is open to receiving all of it, and that becomes, a big integral part of our life. Like people who don't really enjoy the birds as much. They don't take the time to stop and listen to them, to enjoy them as much as somebody who does do that, because they created an emotional connection with the songs or whatever it is that the birds do that they so enjoy getting from the birds. We learned that, we went over in part 17 in the introduction, the different gods or the deities that anybody worships, like how Charles put it. He said that the type of deity which a man consciously or unconsciously worships all depends on the intellectual status of the worshipper. Meaning, whoever person perceives or believes God to be really determines where they still are in their life. Like the type of information that they have come across, the type of things that they've learned, how much they really know about life, because, like Moses, for example, he created the 10 Commandments, but those 10 Commandments came from Moses himself. We are all one and the same with this infinite source, and we are all one and the same with this infinite consciousness, and we are all embodiments in personal, like channels of this universal being. Moses was, we are just as much a channel and an open flow of energy, just as much as Moses was. Okay, and everything that Moses did, we are able to do too. And we don't need to abide by the 10 Commandments that he had put there, because that is something that came from him. Whatever he believed God to be was expressed in his life, and likewise with us. Whatever we believe God to be is expressed in our life, because we are one with God, and God has given us all power and dominion over all things. We have the ability to create whatever we want to create. Whatever we believe, we unconsciously move into creating that because we believe it, like there's here. Because we're all dynamos. We're all connected to one mind. We're all open channels. So, let's go over part 18, introduction, because we don't want this to be too long. In order to grow, we must obtain what is necessary for our growth. This is brought about through the law of attraction. This principle is the sole means by which the individual is differentiated from the universal. Think for a moment, what would a man be if he were not a husband, father, or brother, if he were not interested in the social, economical, political, or religious world? He would be nothing but an abstract, theoretical ego. He exists, therefore, only in his relation to the whole, in his relation to other men, in his relation to society. This relation constitutes his environment, and in no other way. basically saying whether he classifies himself as a husband or a father, or whether he has kids, or whether he classifies himself as a personal trainer. Like all these conceptions, all these ideas that each individual have of themselves, all these are the images that the individual has created within himself to embody that image and become that. Like, if we all come from the same consciousness, and this consciousness is simply static energy, we're the ones that put it into dynamic energy. And if we're one and the same as this consciousness, us in our real state or being is just simply are. We simply are, like we're simply intelligence. All we really are is just consciousness and intelligence. And like me, I'm not really Corey Anderson. I am identified as Corey Anderson, but that's not who I am. That's my name. Like, who I really am is the universal consciousness. Like, who I really am is awareness, spirit. Like just am. Like. And the fact that I identify myself with being Corey, I am Corey, like the fact that I identify myself with being a trainer, that's what makes me a trainer, You identify yourself with specific things. Remember the visualization, the actual law. When we visualize, we are setting brain cells into activity, and these brain cells literally form themselves in accordance with that image which you are consistently holding, forming the circuit within your own brain. Remember, the brain is the most wonderful mechanism of attachment, okay? Literally, you are changing every structure in your own brain by every single thought you are thinking, okay? Which is why it's so positive to think positive thoughts, because it becomes habitual. When it becomes habitual, it is subconscious, and it becomes your habitual way of thinking. You just becomes your way of thinking because you form the circuit. It is evident, therefore, that the individual is simply the differentiation of the one universal mind, quote, which lighteth every man that cometh into the world, end quote. And this so-called individuality or personality consists of nothing but the manner in which he relates with the whole. I and my Father are one. Remember, you are one with God. Your intelligence is the same intelligence as God. God has given you the power to be all that you want to be, because it is Him living through you to be all that He wants to be. Remember, we are learning through the Wallace D. Wattles trilogy, okay, in the Science of Being Great. Okay, God is producing forms so He could live and manifest Himself in the material plane as a God, as He is. And He has brought humanity, humans, mankind so far that we are able to speak, we are able to create, we have a mind, we are able to feel things and create in our own world just as God creates in the universe, and He continues His creation through us. Because mind, the universal intelligence, is the light which lighteth every man that cometh into the world. And if this consciousness is the life of all life, then if you are conscious and you are living and you are a self-aware being, then you are one and the same as life. And you are life, giving life to this creature. This we call his environment, and is brought about by the law of attraction. Part 18, which follows, has something more to say concerning this important law. Now, Part 18. There is a change in the thought of the world. This change is silently transpiring in our midst, and is more important than any which the world has undergone since the downfall of paganism. The present revolution in the opinions of all classes of men, the highest and most cultured of men, as well as those of the laboring class, stands unparalleled in the history of the world. Science has of late made such vast discoveries, has revealed such an infinity of resources, has unveiled such enormous possibilities and such unsuspected forces, that scientific men more and more hesitate to affirm certain theories as established and beyond doubt, or to deny any other theories as absurd or impossible. A new civilization is being born, Customs, creeds, and precedent are passing. Vision, faith, and service are taking their place. The fetters of tradition are being melted off from humanity, and as the impurities of materialism are being consumed, thought is being liberated and truth is rising full-robed before an astonished multitude. The whole world is on the eve of a new consciousness, a new power, and a new realization within the self. Physical science has resolved matter into molecules, molecules into atoms, atoms into energy, and it has remained for Mr. J. A. Flemings, in an address before the Royal Institution, to resolve this energy into mind. And remember, that energy is the same as electrons, atoms into energy, and atoms themselves are made by millions and millions of electrons. He says, quote, "In its ultimate essence, energy may be incomprehensible by us, except as an exhibition of the direct operation of that which we call mind or will." End quote. And this mind is the indwelling and ultimate. It is immanent in matter and as in spirit. It is the sustaining, energizing, all-pervading spirit of the universe. It is God. Every living thing must be sustained by this omnipotent intelligence, and we find that the difference in individual lives are to be largely measured by the degree of this intelligence which they manifest. It is greater intelligence that places the animal in a higher scale of being than the plant, the man higher than the animal, and we find that this increased intelligence is again indicated by the power of the individual to control modes of action and thus to consciously adjust himself to his environment. It is man and his ability to think which makes him separate from all other creatures, which makes him a creator. Because remember, if thinking is the only activity which the spirit uses to create, then it is the fact that man has the ability to think beyond any other creature, which makes him more spiritual, more creative, and more higher in the chain of any other creature on this planet. Because we might not be the strongest, we might not be the fastest, but we are definitely the smartest out there. And it is us and our intelligence which makes us so dumb as well. It is this adjustment that occupies the attention of the greatest minds, and this adjustment consists in nothing else than the recognition of an existing order in the universal mind, for it is well known that this mind will obey us precisely in proportion as we first obey it. It is the recognition of natural laws that has enabled us to annihilate time and space, to soar in the air, and to make iron float. And the greater the degree of intelligence, the greater will be our recognition of these natural laws, and the greater will be the power we can possess. It is the recognition of the self as an individualization of the universal intelligence that enables the individual to control those forms of intelligence which have not yet reached this level of self-recognition. They do not know that this universal intelligence permeates all things ready to be called into action. They do not know that it is responsive to every demand, that they are therefore in bondage to the law of their own being, which is exactly what the majority of people are nowadays. We were there at one point, everybody was there at one point, until they actually took the time to learn all of this information that hasn't been taught to us in schools, that hasn't been taught to the masses. Because why? Because it is the recognition of the self of an individual, of this universal intelligence, that enables the individual to control those forms of intelligence which have not yet reached this level of self-recognition. And what exactly is going on around there in the world right now? The majority of people have no conception or idea of this type of information. And the quote-unquote, the people that do, quote-unquote, the people in power, how much are they really actually helping those people that don't know this information, you know? Like, come on, we're all working jobs so we can barely pay bills, you know? Like, we weren't taught any of this in schools. They're taking out education. They even took out reading curriculums in schools. Like, come on, it's only obvious that they're trying to control us, you know? They're trying to control the people and control the masses and keep all this information to themselves, so they're the ones that stay in power, you know? But that is not what's going to happen here, because us as individuals, we are all slowly rising in power, because we are the masters of our ships, and we are the captain of our our destinies, you know, like we all came from this infinite source, and we all have the power to create our own lives. So let's take heed and learn about our own power, our own world within, about the power of our thoughts, the power of our emotions, the power of feeling, and the power of actions, and the power of our words, and the power of this, and suggestion, and that. You know, let's learn about the powers we have to create our life. So then we wouldn't need to worry about, you know, building a life for somebody else. That sounds pretty good, right? Let's all do that, you know, like me and you, because that is what we're here doing, right? That is why you're watching my videos, because you're obviously here to learn, you know, here to learn some information with me, you know, because me and you we're born to do, we're destined to do great things, you know. We're not here to be held down by anybody above us, but to be free and to live and to actually enjoy life. Like this universal intelligence has created us and embodied himself in us to enjoy, because remember, you are this intelligence, and it is through you that the universe is learning about itself. It is through you that the universe enjoys, you know, reading this book, enjoying to laugh, you know, that wants to dream. It's through you that the universe does all these things, you know. So let's not let anybody else stop us from being all that we were born to be. The individual is simply the means by which the universal produces the various combinations which result in the formation of phenomena, which depends upon the law of vibration, whereby various rates of rapidity and of motion in the primary substance form new substances only in certain exact numerical ratios. Now remember, the law of vibration is the law which all things travel along the ether, you know, the solar fluid. And as I speak, I am creating electromagnetic, you know, impulses, and this electromagnetism, remember, everything material is made of electromagnetism, and as I speak, I'm literally changing the structure of the atoms in front of me, and this vibration that I'm creating is traveling along the ether by the law of vibration in the form of energy, and it's picked up by your own personal your own divine spark of personal consciousness, and you're interpreting it, whatever I say, and you are hearing what I am speaking, you are taking it in your own way. Remember the ability that we have, and you have the power to consciously accept what I am saying, or you have the power to consciously say, okay, you know, whatever it is this guy is saying, you know, it sounds really great, but I think I'm going to look into it more myself so I get a better understanding, which we encourage you to do, which is exactly what we're all here to do, because I'm not here to teach you anything. I'm here to inspire you, to motivate you, so you can learn to get motivated to grow yourself, because that is what I'm doing. Because you know how many people are probably watching this video? Not a whole lot. You know, I'm doing this for me. You know, like, this helps me stay accountable to grow, because I want to grow and I want to learn, and I'm here to inspire you to do the same for yourself. Because remember, this world is made from, this entire planet is the way it is because of the people. And the only way this planet will change is if the people change. Okay. Thought is the invisible link by which the individual comes into communication with the universal, the finite with the infinite, the seen with the unseen. Thought is the magic by which the human is transformed into a being who thinks and knows and feels and acts. Excuse me, sorry. The understanding which is usually developed is about as valuable as the VCR without a videotape. In fact, it is usually nothing more than a, quote, belief, end quote, which means nothing at all. The savages of the Cannibal Islands believe something, but that proves nothing. The only belief which is of any value to anyone is a belief that has been put to a test and demonstrated to be a fact. If it is then no longer a belief, but has become a living faith or truth. And this truth has been put to the test by hundreds of thousands of people, and has been found to be the truth exactly in proportion to the usefulness of the apparatus which they used. And what is this truth? What is this test, this test truth that has been tested by hundreds of thousands of people? And that is the test of visualization, the test of thought. Remember, all of this is scientific facts now. It's not religion. They're using religion, like they're connecting all of it with religion. Remember, science explains everything on the outside. Religion explains everything on the inside. Charles F. Haanel has found a way to meld all of it together to help science explain religion and help religion explain science. They are the two halves of the complete whole. They are both needed. A man would not expect to locate stars hundreds of millions of miles away without a sufficiently strong telescope, and for this reason, science is continually engaged in building larger and more powerful telescopes, and is continually rewarded by additional knowledge of the heavenly bodies. So with understanding, men are continually making progress in the methods which they use to come into communication with the universal mind and its infinite possibilities. The universal mind manifests itself in the objective. The universal mind manifests itself in the objective. The universal consciousness has embodied itself within this objective man, this material, through the principle of attraction that each atom has for every other atom in infinite degrees of intensity. So it is by the law of attraction which all the atoms of which we are built out of has brought us all together, making and forming this creature known as man, and you as spirit are embodied in this creature known as man. Without you, man cannot be, for it is simply matter. It's dead. You are the life-giving principle of all life, and you have the power to create the life that you want to create. It is by this principle of combining and attracting that things are brought together. This principle is the universal application and is the sole means whereby the purpose of existence is carried into effect. The expression of growth is met in the most beautiful manner through the instrumentality of the universal principle. In order to grow, we must obtain what is essential for our growth. But as we are at all times a complete thought entity, this completeness makes it possible for us to receive only as we give. We give our time into learning these things, and as we are reading, we are thinking about these things as we are reading. Remember, thought, consciousness is the only way to obtaining things. That all growth is a result of an accumulative consciousness, a spirit that is continuously growing because it is thoughts, it is thinking, it is our thinking that makes us who we are. Remember, we're not developed by what we read, but by what we think about what we read. It's by taking all this information and continuously thinking about it over and over and over until we build a circuit within our mind. Okay, remember, when we build a circuit, it becomes habitual, it becomes a part of who you are. And it is only going to be a part of who you are when it is a subconscious tendency. Remember, something that is engraved deeply within you. It is clear, therefore, that thoughts of abundance will respond only to other similar thoughts, and the wealth of the individual is seen to be what he inherently is. To be seen to be what he inherently is, what he habitually is. Affluence within is found to be the secret of attraction for affluence without. The ability to produce is found to be the real source of wealth of the individual. It is for this reason that he who has his heart in his work is certain to meet with unbounded success. Like when you have people canceling LA Fitness because they don't want to lose you as a trainer. When you're willing to do things for free because you love to do what you do, that is when you have found what is right for you. Wow. He will give and continually give, and the more he gives, the more he will receive. What do the great financiers of Wall Street, the captains of industry, the statesmen, the great corporations' attorneys, the inventors, the physicians, the authors, what do each of these contribute to the sum? I'm sorry, I lost my... Okay. What do each of these contribute to the sum of human happiness but the power of their own thought? Thought is the energy by which the law of attraction is brought into operation, which eventually manifests in abundance. The universal mind is static mind or substance in equilibrium. Remember, it simply is. And you put that substance into dynamic state. It is differentiated into form by our power to think. Thought is the dynamic phase of mind. Power depends upon consciousness of power. Consciousness of power. The accumulation of consistent information in continuous thinking, because the more you continually think it, becomes a neural pathogen in your mind. It becomes an habitual way of thinking, and all this will eventually just be a part of who you are. Unless we use it, we shall lose it. And unless we are conscious of it, we cannot use it. Unless we are aware of it being there, then it's almost like it doesn't exist. Attention has been held to be the distinguishing mark of a genius. The cultivation of attention depends upon practice. The incentive of attention is interest. The greater the interest, the greater the attention. The greater the attention, the greater the interest. Action and reaction, cause and effect. Begin by paying attention. Before long you will have aroused interest. This interest will attract more attention, and this attention will attract more interest, and so on. This practice will enable you to cultivate the power of attention. Now that goes back to, like he was saying, cause and effect, the train of causation. That when you put one cause into motion, this sets another effect into motion, and that effect in turn will create another cause, and that cause in turn will create another effect. Starting that train of causation, likewise with here, it is a causation between attention and interest, because the more you give your attention to something, yeah, you're definitely going to build more and more interest of it, because if you had no interest in it at all, then you're not going to want to pay attention to it at all. This week, concentrate upon the power to create. Seek insight, perception. Try to find a logical basis for the faith which is in you. Let the thought dwell on the fact that the physical man lives and moves and has his being in the sustainer of all organic life. Air that he must breathe to live. Then let the thought rest on the fact that the spiritual man also lives and moves and has his being in a similar but more subtler energy upon which he must depend for life, and that as in the physical world no life assumes form until after a seed is sown, and that seed is sown by the spiritual man within. And no higher fruit than that of the parent stock can be produced. So in the spiritual world, no effect can be produced until the seed is sown, and the fruit will depend upon the nature of the seed, so that the results which you secure upon your perception of law in the mighty domain of causation, the highest evolution of human consciousness. Quote, "There is no thought in my mind, but it quickly tends to convert itself into a power and organizes a huge instrumentality of means." End quote. And that is by Emerson. Spirit. You are spirit, embodied in this physical form. And whatever thoughts you think, whatever visions you have, whatever you imagine, whatever you image within your own mind, you become an embodiment of that image, and you take on to manifest in form in the external world. That is how you bring from what is within you and create that without of you. Okay, now the nature of your thought. If thinking is the only activity which we as spirit possess, then obviously the nature of our action is going to depend upon the nature of our thinking. That is why it's important to weave the fabrics of our mind with the thoughts of courage, the thoughts of of happiness, thoughts of strength, thoughts of abundance, thoughts of anything and everything that is positive, because as we are thinking the nature of positive thoughts, we embody the nature of positive being, and we express that positivity in the outer world. Okay, and likewise with the latter, if you have thoughts of fear, thoughts of worry, thoughts of anxiety, all these manifest themselves as anger within yourself. They manifest as frustration. They manifest as this and that. And when you go into a frustrated state of being, your energies contract, and you won't be so aware of the things that are happening around you because you're so focused and contracted on this little thing that had happened, that didn't exactly leave you feeling so well. That is why it's very important that you remain poise. For those of you who don't know what poise means calm, because calmness and poise brings power. The more calm you are, the more you are open to being receptive to what's actually happening around you. Instead of being frustrated and constricting yourself and seeing things in ways that they really aren't. That is why two people could be in an argument and one of them's just like, why are you being so mad, and then this person's just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this happened, I can't believe that, and then all this and that, and then they start taking you out on things, and this person's here, like, on the side of them, like, dude, calm down, I understand that was important, and I understand that happens, and, it happens, life happens, and, why did it happen? Think about that, think about why it happened. Was it something that happened from you, or was it something that happened from something else? It takes two people to make a situation, because I've found when I get frustrated on things, they happen to be my fault. Why are you going to get frustrated over things that wasn't in your doing? I happen to get frustrated when I'm listening to music, and I ended up losing something or misplacing something, and it's just like, oh my gosh, if I wasn't listening to this, then I would have stayed focused on where I placed this. Things like that. And it's very interesting when you actually get down to the nitty-gritty of when you really get down to the structure of your thinking in that way, okay, if you're listening to music and you need to get something done and it's a song that you really, really like, that song is distracting you from getting the work that you need to get done, because you're thinking about the song when you should be thinking about the thing that needs to be done. Because remember, you embody that which you think, and if you're thinking about the song, you're not going to be thinking about your goals or the things you need to get done so much, unless the song is there to motivate you and inspire you. To each their own. To each their own. That is the end of part 18. Now let's go over study questions and answers. Question 1. How is the difference in individual lives measured? By the degree of intelligence which they manifest. 2. What is the law by which the individual may control other forms of intelligence? A recognition of the self as an individualization of the universal intelligence. 3. Where does the creative power originate? In the universal. 4. How does the universal create form? By means of the individual, by the thoughts of the individual. 5. What is the connecting link between the individual and the universal? Thought. Yes. Thought. Thinking. What is the principle by which the means of existence is carried into effect? The law of love. Remember, the law of love is the same as the law of attraction. The thing that holds all things in their place. The thing that moves all within itself. Creates all within itself. And at the same time, and yet holds all things in their places. How is this principle brought into expression? By the law of growth. Remember, that is why he says, you must steadily hold the thought, the idea of your thought, to the purpose with the power of your will until the law of growth takes form. Because that seed will start to grow into a plant. And when it finally grows to a plant, that is how you know you don't have to make such a conscious effort to keep watering that seed, because it has already grown that much, becoming more habitual. 8. Upon what condition does the law of growth depend? Upon reciprocal action. The individual is complete at all times, and this makes it possible to receive only as we give. 9. What is it that we give? Thought. What do we receive? Thought, which is substance in equilibrium, and which is constantly being differentiated in form by what we think. So everything is obtained through thinking. The law of attraction When you desire to do something, when you're thinking about getting something done, the law of attraction, as you think it, you are setting those thought vibrations out into the universe. And those thought vibrations are connecting with those things, connecting with the things that will bring to you in the nature of either information, in meeting people, or even seeing a picture, some type of thing that's going to help you move towards the direction of what it is that you want. You're going to receive it in the form of a thought, of an image, of intuition, of insight. You're going to receive it in a thought form, because remember, all forms have their origin in thought. Like this dream rock first existed in a thought. This camera I'm making this video on was first existed in somebody's thought. So thinking, it is the thought. You must think about the thing that you want to do. You must think about yourself being that thing, because remember, you embody that which you think, and that is why it's important that you always think of it in terms as already being. That is why you need to see yourself as being that thing already, so you can embody that image and create and manifest it in your outer world. Yeah, and that will be all for right now, because this video is probably about an hour long. It's 11:45, and thank you so much for watching, you guys, if you actually made it to the end of this video with me. And I think it's Corey Anderson here. There's still a lot of growing to do, a lot of learning to do, and yeah, big things are happening, and the universe has big plans for all of us, because I know everything that I've been through. I know for a fact that we are all living in this intelligence. Like this thing is surrounding us. It's pressing up against us. It's consistently recreating and creating us. Like it's bringing all things to manifestation. It is at the source and heart of all that exists. It is the foundation of all things, and it is what created you. It's just this intelligent substance that just permeates all of space. You are a manifestation of this eternal, infinite energy. What the? Oh, man. God is light, and in Him is no darkness at all. You are the light of the world. That is your nature. With that being said, I will see you guys on the other side of the galaxy.